Good evening, everybody. Welcome here. I'm sorry we're conflicting with Agnostic Kala tea tonight in the show, but tell your friends who are there that this will be available on YouTube thanks to Howard Schoenfeld, and you'll be able to watch it there, and they will be able to watch it there. Also on the Etz Chaim website, Etz Chaim KGH.org, I think. .org. Tonight we're not going to learn too much in the way of medicine specifically. We're going to learn to have you learn how to help yourselves navigate the medical system, literally. We are all being confronted with two major problems these days that we're going to discuss tonight. The cost of prescription drugs is going higher and higher and higher, including generics. And the ease of getting good medical care is becoming more and more difficult. And more good things are not being done, and bad things are being done when you go to your doctor or to a specialist he may send you to. And therefore, we're going to discuss the cost of prescription drugs and what is called medical guidelines. We'll get to that a little further, and so on. But first, no one can talk better about prescription drug prices than a pharmacist. We have our own homegrown pharmacist there, Berger, who works as a retail pharmacist. We're not at liberty to say where at this time, but he will discuss the price of prescription drugs and perhaps some ways you can avoid paying as much as you've been paying.
Thank you. First thing I have to do is set the record straight. It was advertised that I am a PharmD. A PharmD is a academic degree which is given after 6 years of study, and it is the standard nowadays for graduate students of pharmacy school. It has been for the past 15 years in the United States. I graduated more than 15 years ago, and I graduated in another country. I graduated in Israel. I am only a bachelor of pharmacy, not a PharmD. I graduated in Israel. I practiced in Israel for several years, and then I moved to the United States, where I continued to practice in the same setting, the community setting. I practiced in different populations. I served the ultra-Orthodox Jewish population in Berger in Israel. I served the ultra-liberal population in Chelsea. And one thing that I can tell you, a common theme is why are medications so expensive?
Try to keep your mouth to the microphone, it'll help something hearing you.
Okay, like this?
Yeah, if I talk at the last time, you can hear over that. Talk.
So everybody wants to know.
That's better, no. That's better.
Okay.
Everybody is asking, why are medications so expensive? One person once asked me, why is it so expensive? Is it made out of gold? I said, well, why is gold so expensive? He said, well, gold is hard to come by, it's hard to manufacture, it's hard to extract. And I said, well, so are medications. When dealing with drug prices, I'm coming up against a stacked deck, because people don't want to pay for things they don't really want. Nobody wants to take medication. Therefore, anything they pay would be deemed by them to be too much. So already, when you have people who are paying hundreds of dollars to go out for a night with a show, paying thousands of dollars to go on a vacation. Tell them that their medication is $50 and they'll be shocked. Why is it so expensive? Where's my insurance? Where's my coverage? Well, those are the prices, and that is what I'm going to try and explain why it's so expensive. Now, in most cases, I really can't, because a lot of it doesn't make sense to me. But they do have claims. The industry does have claims which are valid. I'm going to try to present it to you. That way, they can be argued from a point of view, understanding, okay, yes, this is your point, it is valid. Let's work with that, instead of just trying to say, oh fine, like, make everything free for everybody. I also want to try and dispel a certain misconception that I see a lot of, and that is that the insurance companies, the doctors, the pharmacies all work together, and there's a connection between us, there's a commonality, a singularity. You're talking to one, you're talking to all of them. That's not true. We cooperate, we communicate. I talk to doctors, I talk to insurance companies, but I do not know why the insurance company isn't paying for your medication, why the doctor wrote the more expensive medication. I can't control that. The doctors don't know prices of medications. And if you call your insurance company help desk, you're probably talking to somebody sitting at a computer who really didn't make the policy and really can't help you. The policy is decided primarily at the upper echelons. So what actually sets the price that you pay at the pharmacy? Well, of course, the pharmacy itself. There's no regulation about what a pharmacy can charge, but the market does have some power. If I charge $50 for a medication and down the block they're charging $10 for the medication, I won't be selling much of that medication. But so, while the pharmacy does have some leeway over here, some influence, the primary influence is by the drug companies that manufacture the medication, and at the end of the day, by your insurance. So let's start talking about the medication manufacturers. A couple of years ago, I was in a pharmacy and a client came in, we started talking. He told me that he used to be the buyer for medications for the US military. I said, oh, then maybe you can explain why drug prices are so high as they are. He said, of course. Do you know what a ganav is? It's a thief. That's it. They're thieves. A very simple explanation. But I get the feeling that if drug companies were to hear that, they wouldn't agree. They have their expenditures, and one of the expenditures is getting a drug onto the market, a new drug onto the market. If you develop a drug, you have to put in a lot into it. And one thing that's very big is you want to have ownership of that medication. Only you can sell it. You have to patent it. I believe the patent for a medication is 15 years. In other words, if I were to patent a medication today, I have 15 years to reap all the benefits. Now, you have to understand, just because I developed it right now, I can't just go out and put it on the market. I have to test it. I have to show that it's safe. I have to show that it's effective. And then once I do that, I have to formulate it. I have to make it into a tablet that can be taken and used. If I were to give you like a liquid of the medication and you just swallow it, it would not necessarily help you. It would not be absorbed into your body. It would not get to where it's supposed to get. It would not do what it's supposed to do. It would just be sitting there in your stomach until it passes through. That wouldn't help you. So I have to manufacture it so that it can be absorbed, so it can be recognized by the body. That takes time. There goes some of the 15 years. Another thing that happens is once I have all set up, I can go to the market, I have to get FDA approval. The government, not known for working quickly.
That takes 2 years.
So there goes a few more years. Let's say if I'm lucky, maybe I have 10 or 8 years to make up what I lost building this medication. And there's a lot. And that's just the medication that makes it through. That makes it through. There are plenty of medications who, for whatever reason, a drug company works on, puts resources into, spends money on, and then at the end of like 2 or 3 years say, you know, it's not working well. Why bother? Let's just scrap it, cut our losses, move on. That's an expenditure. That goes on to the price tag of the medication that reaches the market at the end. And then there are also problems that come post-market. I don't know how many of you remember Vioxx or Roflumilast. It's a pain medication. It got onto the market, and then once it reached the general population, all of a sudden they discover, wait a minute, there's a problem over here. It wasn't seen in small studies that were done by the company, but once it hit like the millions, all of a sudden they started seeing a lot of problems with the heart. Turns out it wasn't as serious as they said it was, but all of a sudden Vioxx was taken off the market after everything. And then those of you who watch daytime TV see all these commercials. Have you ever taken Vioxx? Well, you may be entitled to money. So there is a legal expense right there and then. All these things come into play when a drug company prices medication. So what can be done? Well, the problem is that this has to be done. It cannot be done at the bottom level. It has to be done by the government. The government can say, okay, we'll give you a bit more time to recoup your losses. We'll help protect you from any losses. Many of the drug companies realize this. What they do is they give coupons. In other words, if you were to go onto their website, the website of this medication, they'll say, do you need assistance paying for your medication? Well, we can help. They'll give you a coupon. You take that coupon to the pharmacy, and they bill your insurance, they bill the coupon, and then the price goes down, sometimes substantial, sometimes by $100, $150. And of course, there's always, like Dr. Mel mentioned, generics, that's also available. A lot of times people say, oh, I want the real one. It's not real, they're all real. Just the generic is the original. So I want the original. I'd like to discuss generics just for a bit, just so that you understand. My son loves waffles, Eggo's waffles. I have to go to the store, I have to buy Eggo's waffles for him. In the same section, right next to it, is another box of waffles. In this case, it's key food, right? It's key food waffles. My son won't touch them. They don't taste the same. But they're waffles. They're generic waffles. In order to sell something as a generic waffle, it has to be a waffle. It has to be recognized as a waffle. And also, it can be poisonous. But if I want to sell a generic medication, if I want to say this is a generic for medication X, it's not enough that I have the same ingredient. I also have to show that the pill that I make appears in the body in the same way as the original. So, and I can't just say that. I have to prove it. I have to prove it to the FDA. Now, there are some people who say, no, the generic don't work for me. I'm not going to call them liars. They say that. I believe them. But as a rule, if something is designated as a generic, that the pharmacist has the right to change from brand A to brand B, that means that the company, brand B, show the FDA that they're just as good as brand A.
I'm sorry, Aaron, can I just interject? I read fairly recently that if you have a problem with the drug and it is generic, let's say you have an allergic reaction to it or you get ill from whatever, the insurance company will not pay you because it was a generic, not the original. Is that not true? Because I thought it was.
Which insurance company will not pay you, and why would they pay you? What are they going to pay you? Who would?
If you've gotten sick from their drug, but it's the generic drug.
If a doctor writes medication for you in good faith, and you take that medication, you have a bad reaction to it, and the New York State, and I think in most states it says generic permitted, if they won't pay you, it's because everything was done in good faith. The doctor was not out of line in writing his medication, unless you tell him I had a reaction to this medication, and he writes. So if he writes for a medication that he has no reason to believe that you have a bad reaction to it, I can't imagine that he would be liable, and therefore his malpractice insurance probably won't pay you because everything was done above board. There's no way to know if you're allergic to something. If you've never taken penicillin before, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor gives you penicillin, and you have a bad reaction, you can't say to the doctor, why did you give me penicillin? I'm allergic to it. He didn't know. There is another case, let's say you go to the doctor and ask for...
This was about generics.
I'm sorry?
This was about generics.
About generics? If the doctor writes the brand, at least in New York State, the doctor writes the brand, and it says on the prescriptions, now they're all electronic, it says substitution allowed. If the doctor does not say substitution, if it says substitution allowed, and does not say dispense as written, I am allowed to give the brand, I'm going to give the generic. Now why so I don't understand which insurance company would not pay you.
That's right. It was an actual case where this person took a medication that was generic, it was dispensed as generic.
Yeah.
She got very sick on it, and the insurance company would not pay.
Which insurance company? Her medical insurance?
I don't remember the details, but yeah, pay.
You didn't get they would go for I would think a prior approval, the doctor needs to get on the phone, find out.
From what I understand, what she's telling me is this is like, the patient never has medication before.
No, the patient had the medication, got a bad reaction, subsequently is going to need the medication again, is not gonna be able to take the generic. In order to get the brand name, your doctor's gonna have to call up, write a letter and say exactly why you can't get it.
That may be, but if they have an allergic reaction to the generic medication, why wouldn't they not have an allergic reaction to the brand
No,
medication?
that's what she's saying, that they can only take the brand.
If they, you think of that?
I must say this, one time, a man came to see me, this is 20 years ago, and it was one of the epileptic drugs, and he came in complaining of a particular problem, and I went over his medications, and he said to me, you know, I told this to the other doctors, but when I started taking the generic of this drug is when it started. And at that time, we didn't have priors and we didn't have too much trouble getting these things. And we switched back to the brand and it went away. And the reality is, it can happen because of the fillers in the medication.
Yes,
and
it
so
could.
on,
It definitely
and
could.
so on, and I can't believe any drug company would refuse under the circumstance if the doctor asked for a prior.
If the, yes, if the doctor asks for a prior and, if it happens, if the doctor says he needs brand, and you have to give brand, so then yes, the patient's prescription coverage plan should give brand. Yes, that does happen. That does happen, but to say that the doctor gave a medication, the patient had a bad reaction, and then without having any prior exposure to the medication, so I don't know why his insurance won't pay for it.
How
Like
would you
what,
define the difference between generic and original? What can be different?
when you ask to define, what do you mean?
Specific drug A. You
Okay,
have a generic version and the original.
let's take for example the drug Zoloft. So the medication name of Zoloft, actually the active ingredient is called sertraline. Way back when, I don't know how long ago this was, it was about 20 years ago, when Zoloft came on the market, it was marketed by Pfizer. Pfizer sold under the name Zoloft. No, at that time they owned sertraline. It was their product. Nobody else could sell it. That is a branded medication. They own it. Only they could sell it. Only they have the rights to sell it. That is a brand medication. After X amount of years, depending on the country, depending on a lot of things, the market opened up. Anybody can get sertraline, anybody can buy it, anybody can make it into a tablet, anybody can sell it. They can't call it Zoloft, they can call it a lot of other things, they can't call it Zoloft.
So it's identical.
That's a generic.
You're saying the generic is identical.
What makes it cheaper?
The active ingredient,
The active-
active ingredient in the generic is identical to the one in the brand. And like I said, in order for me to be able to substitute drug A for drug B, from Pfizer to say, or Bando's, Orbando has to show, the generic company has to show that their drug behaves in the body just like the original. But that's the difference. The original was the one first on the market. And like I said, they have X amount of years where they own and only they can run with it. They're the only ones. And at that time, it's very expensive. I will say that recently, as the price of Zoloft, it was still astronomical, even though this is generic, it's been on generic for many times. I don't know why it's that expensive. Yes.
So I don't know if it's exactly the same situation or not, but at one time I was taking a particular generic drug, and I refilled the prescription, and I got the drug from the pharmacy, and it had a slightly different color, but I thought nothing of it, and I took the drug, and I had an allergic reaction to it. I went back to the pharmacy, and they checked their records, and it seems that they had two different suppliers for that generic, and they had switched suppliers on my particular refill. So what I presumed, and what they presumed, was that the coloring on the second supplier was a different color, and something in that dye
Yes,
or whatever it was.
That happens a lot. I get a lot of
So they
cases.
switched me back to the original, the rash went away, and they made a note in their records that when I refilled that generic.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. Somebody says, oh, I don't want this brand drug. I want drug, let's take sertraline for an example. I want sertraline from drug A, not from drug B. I can't handle drug manufacturer B. So we put a note in his profile, when this patient
So
gets
it's not the
sertraline,
generic per se that's the problem, it's the.
it's not the generic.
manufacturer.
It's that specific, it's that specific brand. And there was no way for them,
Yellow, guaranteed.
It's yellow.
Sorry, what was that?
It was yellow, probably.
No,
With yellow in it.
Navy blue.
well, not quite, royal blue, okay.
Nice color, it wasn't good.
but that does happen. Like you said, the dye has a bad reaction, or sometimes there are people who have celiac disease, and some of the generics have gluten in them, but some don't. So another thing that has to be taken into consideration. But there's no way for me to know that as a pharmacist, no way for anybody to know that as a doctor before you're actually exposed to it.
How often does that type of thing happen? Where there's some kind of reaction or something to the generic or
Relatively speaking, not a lot. It doesn't happen often. But to say that it doesn't happen would be a lie.
on the order of a fraction of a percent or something like that?
Fraction of a percent. Okay, I would say like in the low single digits of a percent. Remember, like if you're allergic to a specific dye, a specific medication, you're not necessarily getting that medication. There's no way for me to. Let's say you're allergic to blue dye number 33, but you're not taking anything with blue dye number 33. You're taking blue dye number 35. You're taking yellow dye number 28. You're not taking blue dye number 33. So you're asking me how often it happens? That you're allergic to a specific dye and you're getting a medication with that specific dye? Yeah. It doesn't happen very often. If you're going to take a drug and the coloring seems off, don't be afraid. You might want to say, are you sure this is the right medication? What we'll do is we'll look at the box that it came from and say, yes, it's the same medication.
Is the reason for the change from company to company to company on generics simply price for the druggists?
Probably. It depends on where we're getting it. Also another thing is availability. But primarily it's like for me, is who is my manufacturer, who's my supplier? Give me, which manufacturer do they have? For price? Probably a lot to do with it.
The other thing in that same vein is every generic has a different color, shape. This becomes very confusing for elderly people.
Yes,
I just lost a 99-year-old mother, and let me tell you, she was pretty sharp, but she said, this is crazy. I don't take this, I don't take this, I don't take this. I said, Ma, you do. They just change the shape, the color. She said, so what do they want to do, kill me?
No, we don't.
But the question is, why is it necessary to change from company to company if you're selling Zoloft, let's say, in different generics? Why shouldn't it look at least the same shape? That's
Why
the
should it
issue.
look the same shape? Well, they can't do that because every company does as they see fit.
Yeah.
You can't tell them, you have to make Zoloft, you have to make sertraline, 25 milligram, you have to make it blue. So across the board, it has to be blue. You can't say that.
It's funny, she didn't take blue, she took pink.
Okay. Whatever it was, you can't tell a company that they have to do a specific one.
It's so difficult.
Yes, it is probably market-based, it is probably,
It's
probably something very simple like that. Now, what we try to do is it's like make a little note someplace, we change the generic.
Right,
Yeah.
So at least you'll know, okay, fine, when you get,
yeah. I used to
Well,
call the pharmacist.
yeah, like I said, if that happens, call the pharmacist, ask him, make sure that's the right one. Maybe the pharmacist made a mistake. It is possible. Call, make sure, once he says, yes, this is what it's supposed to look like. I've even seen some labels that have a description, it'll say, let's say, sertraline 25 milligrams, it is small, blue, and oblong. So if you have a small blue oblong, you'll know, okay, I'm on the right one. But yes, that is primarily the reason.
So you're saying that the active components are the same in the original and the generic?
No, I am not saying that at all. The active ingredient, the medication
ingredient.
itself, is the same. That's the same.
Yeah.
Everything else, the binder,
But the inactive
the excipients
can be different.
can be different, can do whatever they want, yes. They have to meet certain requirements in order to be able to use it, but every company can choose whatever
But
they
do they have to go through a practical test, the generics, to
Yes,
see
they do.
that they work?
Of course. They have to prove not only that they work, they have to show that in the body, when you take this pill and you take that pill, they show themselves in the body in the same way. If the brand starts to work for you after 20 minutes, the generics are also start to work after 20 minutes. Close enough. If it takes 2 hours, something's wrong, it will not be approved. At least not as a generic. It might be approved as something else, but it's not as approved as a generic. I cannot switch from A to B in that case. No. Like I said, one thing that you have to, another possibility in order to try and lower the cost that you pay at the pharmacy is using what's called generic alternatives. Those are not generic equivalents. It's a different medication that works the same way as the drug you were prescribed. The only difference is that the second drug has been on the market longer and maybe has a generic available. So it'll end up being a lot cheaper. And so if you go there and you have a high copay, or it's not covered, go to your doctor and say, is there something similar that you could give me? Maybe there is.
Well, this is a generic of the generic, you're saying?
No. It's an alternative.
It's a different drug.
It's a different drug totally. They work the same way. But it's a different drug, It's a generic for the alternative.
What about, I don't know how safe it is or whatever, about getting medications from Canada?
Thank you for that.
I'm just asking.
I was gonna ask that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Israel, Canada. Well, first of all, the FDA actually came into existence because people were getting medications from Mexico. It turns out that to be, not medication, be poisonous. So this, if you're getting medication from another country, that country has a government, supposedly. That government monitors the medication they sell. And supposedly, I don't know which country you're talking about. Canada, I would trust, for example. Israel, I work in Israel, so yeah, I trust them. If you can get, it's a lot cheaper over there. That is true. I'll mention that later. But if you want to get them from Canada, you can get them from Canada. I mean, I can't stop you.
No, I just mentioned,
Yes, going out of the United States, what I'm talking about here is based on what's happening in the United States. If I was to go globally, I don't think we have enough time for that. Dr. Mel wants to speak also. He deserves this chance. So I can only talk about the United States. As we mentioned, most of you don't. One second, sorry.
I just want to talk about out of the United States. I'm going to tell you a story. We were in Amsterdam. My wife had an eye sty, so we had to go to the pharmacy in Amsterdam, and the doctor gave us some sort of antibiotics.
Yeah.
It was like 12. Our insurance is in the U.S. They would have paid if it was like a lot of money, but for small amounts to just pay out of pocket, it was like $12. This is Amsterdam. Now I assume most people would trust the Netherlands as like a real country. Well, it was $12. It cost and that was no insurance at all.
Of course, more though, than the cost to you probably would have been less because it would have been covered, you say.
No, I don't think it would have cost. Our copays is always like $5, $10 anyway. So it's like
That's the insurance. We have a prescription.
there's no insurance. It was like $12.
I had the same experience in Israel. I was blown.
Me too. I mean,
Continue with your story, please.
Oh, I was saying we had to go to we went to the doctor in Amsterdam, which is like a real country. You know, it's the Netherlands.
City.
But Amsterdam's like a real country. People would trust the Netherlands as a Western country. And I don't know what kind of antibiotics it was, but it was like $12 out of pocket.
Story, okay.
No, and I was wondering like why was it so cheap there? Like obviously I would trust the Netherlands is like I'm sure.
I'll actually just mention that. Like I said, I don't want to get into global economics over here, but I will touch on that at the end of the presentation. I actually have one of my little notes over here about that. Yes.
A little comment on that. In the Part D, medical, for the pharmacy items.
Pharmacy insurance. Yes.
I see some of my stuff that I can buy in one of the chains for $4 a month, $10 for 3 months. You know, older medication. But I see that same medication when whoever's selling it bills it, and then the insurance company bills it to, I guess, to Medicare, to the Part D, they're having like they're claiming $60 on it. You know, they're claiming like a full-blown retail price type of thing. And I can't quite understand. In other words, take a cheap older medicine.
Okay,
All right, bottom of the barrel, you know, $4 a month.
okay,
You know, maybe a regular pharmacy charges you $10 a month.
okay,
But you put it through Part D,
yeah.
and it'll say like $60, you know, they're billing it out at, to Medicare.
You're paying $60 through Medicare Part D, but you were to buy it
No, no.
without
The insurance plan, the
bills.
looks of it, looks like it's billing Part D Medicare,
Yeah.
$60 for the same thing.
Well, okay, you're paying the insurance price, right? The $4 or,
No, $4 is out of my pocket, like you said on that.
if you were to go without insurance, how much would you pay?
$4.
Are they getting the $60, or they're just billing that to Medicare?
So if you're paying out of pocket, who's billing Medicare?
Your insurance company, if you get that through Part D, the
Right,
same medication, instead of walking in and buying it for cash,
right,
you go to your pharmacy, again, it's low, first-tier medication. And then when you get the statements on it, it shows, you know, the cost, and, you know, if you had a copay, $0 on a cheap medication, but they billed out $60.
okay, so you're telling me that the price is $60 and you pay $4,
Right.
but that's what insurance does. Insurance picks up, you pay your copay, but that's what insurance does. That's the whole point of insurance, that you don't pay the full amount. You're not paying, if you're coming with insurance, you're paying the copay that the insurance says you should pay. But that's not necessarily the full price. So if the price is, let's say, $65, you're paying $5, who pays the rest of the $60? Well, that we get from your insurance company, Part D, Medicare Part D, or commercial one. But as you were saying, just to segue from this discussion, we're going to expand the role of insurance companies because they are the ones who define what you pay at the pharmacy. When you pay, like you were saying, the medication itself costs $65, you're only paying $5, so the rest is picked up by the insurance. Yes.
So, my husband had an emergency, an eye emergency, and we were giving him a tube like that, it's $485.
I believe that.
And when we put in a claim to they say, you didn't ask to get pre-approved for this. This is an emergency.
I'm going to discuss that.
This is an emergency, this is not.
Actually, I'm going to discuss what pre-approval means. I cannot, like I said at the beginning, I cannot defend certain actions by insurance companies, by drug companies. Yes.
Yeah, it was an error.
Yes. Well, I agree. I agree. The problem is, like, I can't fix it, and I will get to the logic behind prior approval. There is logic behind it. For your specific, in your specific case, it may not have been right, but there is logic. There is logic to the requirement. So, what happens when you have insurance and you come to the pharmacy? The pharmacy contacts the insurance company. The insurance company tells us how much you have to pay. They have what's called formulae. They have lists of medications. They have a list where you pay a low copay, a list where you pay a high copay, a list where they will pay, like you said, if you get prior approval. And maybe there's a list that they don't pay at all. If a new drug comes on the market, and somebody in the office over there at the insurance company didn't put it in their computer, guess what? That's not covered. And if a generic comes out, and they didn't put it in their computer, you're paying for the brand. It could be high copay. Why? Because somebody didn't get around to punching the numbers in. But the problem is, and this upsets many people, is that at the end of the day, you are responsible for the price. It's your job to pay the pharmacy. You want to say, okay, bill the insurance, we can bill the insurance. but you have to stand behind it. On a slightly different tangent, a while back, a patient comes to the pharmacy and she was very angry at her doctor. Why? Because her doctor said, you need a certain procedure. It would be better for you. Not better, but it would be better for you. She said, look, I can't really afford that. I will only do that procedure if my insurance covers it. Doctor gets on the phone with the insurance company says yes, it's covered. Fully covered, zero copay. She doesn't have to pay anything. Good. She has the procedure done. And 2 months later, she gets a bill for $200 for that procedure. Wow. What happened? It seems that the person she asked me, can I be angry at my doctor? I said, no. Your doctor did what he was supposed to do. The person at the insurance company looked at your plan. Your plan says it's fully covered. He did not look at your account. Because your account has a deductible. And that's where the $200 come. So we have to be able to build the insurance. Now in pharmacy it's a lot simpler because it's usually immediate. You give us an insurance card, we contact the insurance company, and then we know immediately how much it will cost you. Will it require prior authorization? Will it cost $100? Whatever it is. In order for me to be able to bill your insurance company, I need 4 pieces of information. They're usually on the card, but if you write them on a piece of paper and you come with it to the pharmacy, at least we don't have a problem. They are the BIN number, BIN, Bravo, India, November. A PCN number, Paul, Charlie, November, PCN number. I need your ID number, and I need your pharmacy group number. With these 4 pieces of information, I can then go and bill the insurance, contact the insurance, say, is it covered or not? Maybe it's not covered. They're under no obligation to cover it. And sometimes, like that happened to you, a medication will require prior authorization. The reason for prior authorization is that the insurance companies have noticed that doctors are very free with their prescription meds. They'll write what they think is best for you. Or they'll write the newest one on the market, even though it's the most expensive one. Many times it happens that the doctors write a prescription, and they come and the copay is $50, and they say that's too much. So I called the doctor. The doctor said, well, try this alternative. Copay is $10. Now they're happy. Why is there a difference in the copay? Well, the first drug, the original price was $500. The second drug, the original price, is $70. So the insurance company says, if you want us to pay for the $500 drug, you have to explain why.
Best example is usually a dermatologist.
It happens a lot in dermatology, it happens in a lot of things.
Yeah, but dermatologists
dermatology is a big price, but part of the problem
is... And then
is...
you get to something similar that's a lot cheaper or more reasonable because it's generic or whatever, it's part of the formula. It happens a lot.
It happens a lot with dermatology. The logic being is a lot of the things that dermatologists write are actually written for cosmetic purposes. Wrinkle cream they're using for acne if it's not that severe.
They try to give you the most updated one if they can, yeah.
So they'll say, so the insurance companies say, we're not paying to have you look good. That's not our job. If you want to look good, go to a beautician. We're a health company. Yes.
I have 2 questions. I'm a glaucoma sufferer, and I have to take a medication called Rumigan, which is extremely expensive.
For a tiny little bottle of 2.5 ml.
A tiny little bottle.
That lasts just enough, yes.
Yeah. Every single year, my doctor has to write a letter of approval, and I've gone through the generics, I just want to let you know that.
Okay.
And every single year, he has to write a letter to the insurance company, and I said to him, Dr. So-and-so, I said, what do they think I'm gonna, did I outgrow, did I cure my glaucoma already? I said, every single year, and every single year, at a certain time period, we have to have it done. I'm just saying on prior approval, I just, how ridiculous it is. But
I can tell you more stories.
I also want to mention, and I want to know, is it true that the manufacturers of eye drops make them in such a way that we, the patient, waste them? Or, yes, the drops.
That's a good one.
Like the big drop.
Is it true that they make it that way? I find it hard to believe that they will do that intentionally. That said, yes, that said, yes, you can't. The problem is a lot of times, patients, they miss their eye. So if you have a very small amount, 2.5 ml, a very small amount, that's usually just enough to reach the next period that you can fill it.
Exactly.
And sometimes you miss it, you're maybe a day or two short. Yes, that happens. Why do they make it that size? I don't know. I do have a theory which kind of makes it okay, but then again, like I said at the beginning, I cannot explain everything. A lot of the things they do make absolutely no sense. I fully admit that. Yes, I see that every time. But you have to understand, the thing about eye drops is they have to be sterile. Okay, they have to be sterile. So usually the rule of thumb is after 30 days, it's no longer any good. So they give you enough for 30 days. Now, is 2.5 ml enough for 30 days? If you're very good, and you give one drop, yes, maybe. But if you happen to miss one, then that's it. You're a day late, $1 short. Yes. Now, is it true that they do that? Well, obviously, yes. They do that. Do they do that intentionally?
I'm not so sure. I think they do.
It could be. It could be.
But I did find 2 devices that
Yeah, that help you keep your eye open.
something called Simple Touch and Magic Touch that
There's an occudose, it's called. There's something called an occudose.
which is
It keeps your eye open. It keeps your eye open.
which that was something else. One was $11, one was $12, and it enabled me to get the eye, especially the Lumigan, directly in the eye.
It keeps your eye open. It keeps your eye open. It fits the bottle into this, so when you push the drop comes out, comes right to the eye.
It's something else. It's with it's a rubber, and it's the eye drop is like it adheres to it, and then you put it in your lid.
Okay, I've never seen that, but
And it is terrific. It's only about $11 to $12.
okay. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, I think there's another caveat that's cross-factor with drugs, and that is when something goes off prescription and over the counter. One is just a caveat that very often when it goes off prescription to over the counter, that the dosage is lowered at times, and so they're not really comparable, for fear that people are gonna overdose if it stayed. Ibuprofen is one of them. When that went off being prescription to over the counter, the Motrins, etc., came out, you can't get over the counter 800 milligram tablet.
Right, you know, you take
So they lower it. The other thing is sometimes a prescription that has gone off,
it became over the counter,
that
so.
became over the counter, but it's still the same name, the Nexium Flonase.
Flonase.
If you get that via a prescription from your doctor to your insurance company, you might have as little as a 0 copay, whereas for the same size, same dosage, same milligrams, over the counter, you will be paying for it.
True.
That's a caveat to be aware of.
However, another thing, the flip side of what you're saying is that many times, the insurance company will say, oh, you want Flonase? That's over the counter. We don't pay for over the counters. Buy it over the counter. It's like $10, $6, whatever it is, buy it over the counter. We're not paying for it. That also
The
happens.
same ones who will not pay for the Flonase will pay for the generic.
Not always.
Okay.
Not always. And I'm talking from experience here.
It's still worth a try.
It's definitely worth a try. It's definitely worth a try. I'm not telling you not to. But
It's a matter of, as Dr. Berger just said, every insurance company within the.
every insurance and every plan,
But you still try
yes.
it before you just assume over the counter is gonna be less expensive.
Yes, that's true. Seems right, if your doctor gives you a prescription, if your doctor wants to take something, have it prescribed at the pharmacy. You go to the pharmacy will say, oh, it's not covering your insurance, just get over the counter. At least that's what I do. I try it, I put it through the insurance. The insurance says, no, have it get the over the counter. I tell the patient, they don't pay for it, you have to get it over the counter. Okay? And we mentioned deductibles. about this poor woman who was hit with a $200 bill. The important thing to know about this is that you should be familiar with your plan. You have to know it. You're signing up for plans, and right now, anybody here who's in Medicare Part D, now is the enrollment time. You're going to want to check, see what's covered, see what's not covered, which doctors this is not Part D, which doctors they work with, which doctors they don't work with. There are people who are trained to go through the plans with every person, depending on where they live. I actually have the number, if anybody wants the number for a Medicare advisor, I have it with me, I can give it to you. But compare before you sign up. The open enrollment for Medicare Part D ends, I believe, December 7th. So you're going to want to know this before you sign up, as the new year enrollment comes on. It's very important. That way, because not all Medicare Part D plans are equal. So you're going to find out the one that works best for you. And for that, like I said, there are people who are trained to do that. There are also coupons that are available from drug manufacturers and also from different companies, like GoodRx is one of them. You can get them. The one thing that I ask as a pharmacist is that if you have a coupon, bring it to the pharmacy with the prescription. Because the way it works with drug coupons is that it's not like a coupon that you go to the register and you get the coupon and it takes, like, say, 50 cents off the price. We have to bill just like we bill the insurance company, which is done behind the scenes. So if you come to the register and you give me the coupon, I would say, okay, wait, go back to the other side, take care of it, then come back to you. Just waste time. So just bring it together with everything. And if you don't have that, like I said, BIN, PCN, ID. But one thing you have to remember, when I mentioned coupons and I mentioned discount cards, they are not the same. Coupons are usually used after the insurance company. If you have a drug that it's a very expensive drug, it's a brand drug, so you go and you go to the pharmacy and they say that after your insurance, it's $150 after your insurance. You go to that company's website, look for that medication, they say, oh, wait a minute, we have an assistance program. So let's say drug is $500, through your insurance is $150, then you have the assistance program, it goes down to, like, say, even $20, $10. One thing you have to be careful of is that they'll say, oh, it's $10 after insurance. That's $10, but then in the small print it says up to a maximum of $100. So if your copay is $100, they'll bring it down to $10. If your copay is $200, they'll only bring it down to $100, because they pay a maximum of $100. Something to look at. The discount cards, however, are something totally different. They work instead of insurance. Sometimes they're not as good. Also, they vary from store to store. So there's just no consistency with those. Howard mentioned Holland, Netherlands. Everybody here mentioned Israel. The thing about those countries is they have socialized medicine. That means that they take the keys for healthcare away from the market, away from the business people, and they hand it to the government. Yes. The one that we all know and love. Yes.
Just go north of the border.
I'm sorry?
Just have to go north of the border.
It happens north of the border, it happens to the east. Everybody looks east and says, yes, let's go. Look at your wonderful, wonderful plan. But a lot of these stories that people say, like Howard's, are usually Americans who go there for a short period of time have a specific problem. They don't have to live under that system the entire time. If they would, maybe they'd see all the flaws. That's not to say that even with those flaws, their system isn't better. It may be, it's been discussed, it's been looked at, and all these things. And better minds than me have worked at that, and I have no idea what's going to be. I hope I've given you some insight to what goes into making the prices. I would like to just end with a quote from the CEO of Aetna, Mark Molina. They decided to opt out of the Affordable Health Care Act. They don't want to be part of that. It's too much for them. They don't want to deal with it. And when he explained it, one of the things he said, which I actually kind of agree with, that's why I chose to close with this. We need to talk about the costs of healthcare and getting those costs under control. And that doesn't happen by changing who pays the bills. And with that, I'm going to clear the space there, Dr. Matt. Dr. Matt, please.